A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for inviting me here. And thank you, Wes. Not here to inspire, just to put a few thoughts together on the topic which we are going to talk about today, and we have been discussing since morning. We have seen this conflict being brewing. This conflict has been brewing since 1947, but I will not be going that deep into the history. I'll be sticking to the topic of the last 32 years, what is happening in Kashmir, and what this conflict has actually given, the people of Kashmir, where it has led to the economic downturn of Kashmir. Now, true to any conflict zone and to Kashmir, when we look at Kashmir and we look at the conflicts, the first and the foremost hit, which is taken up by the civil society or by the population, is on their livelihoods, because it doesn't allow people to earn their livelihood in a daily manner, in a proper manner. There are a lot of disruptions, and these disruptions directly impact the basic livelihood of people, whether they are in the government or whether they are into the business fraternity or in some other working fraternity. In last 30 years, most of the people, we talk about hartals and we talk about other disruptions. 1900 days were lost to hartals in Kashmir. Now, 1900 days is about 5.5 years of life, of one person's life, which he had to spend without earning for his family, for his kith and kin. That's a staggering number. And this number, I was quoting, if it's 2800 days, then we are looking at a much larger year span. We're looking at 7.5 years out of 30 years where people have been deprived of their basic livelihood right to earn. And what does that do? That doesn't only take, the economic status away from people, that also impacts the mind, that impacts the economy, that impacts the growth, that impacts the overall development of the place, which we are so proud to call Kashmir. But unfortunately, what it also does is makes people look at alternate ways of earning their livelihood through these disruptions, and that is where conflict economy comes in. So on one hand, we have seen that from 90s till 2000, till recently, till 2019, 2020, 2021, we have seen tourism losing its sheen in Kashmir. We have seen a decline on and off in Kashmir about tourism, about, other ancillary you can say livelihood projects because of disruptions in Kashmir. But what has it given the local population? It has given a local population an idea on how to make their ends meet when it comes to earning their livelihood. And that is why, when in a previous discussion I was listening to somebody who said that OGWs are not paid. Let me remind you, it's like an internship. People have learned to earn out of conflict. In Kashmir, people save money because they don't know if tomorrow is going to be secure, if tomorrow they are going to get the same livelihood or they are not going to get the same livelihood. Same is the case with OGWs. We have seen sanctity in the society where conflict economy is taken, is taken as something which is very natural, is taken as something which is, Urdu mein bolunga to hak hai hamara, kuch bhi karna. Corruption, that is why J&K is at number one. Narcotics, J&K is at number one. We have arms dealings happening in J&K. We have other deforestation happening in J&K. And what are the reasons behind it? The reasons are disruptions and hartals. Also, I would like to touch on a topic which is very close to me. And, why does this happen? Why is it that when we see hartals and we see people, actually validating these kind of ideas, we see people validating this kind of, these junctures where people come on the streets and people protest and they think they have a right to protest. They have a right to protest. Yes, democracy does give you a right to protest, but there is a difference between right to dissent and right to sedition. What we have practiced in Kashmir is a right to sedition and an open right to sedition. We have not practiced the democratic way of right to protest. That, my friend, is another problem which we are facing and our economy is facing. I'm not going to talk about the impact it has taken on education because we do have a very eminent educationist among us, but I'm going to talk about the impact it has taken on our daily lives. So when we talk about OGWs and they don't get money, I agree they don't get money, but there is an internship. The better you get at it, the more money you make out of it. And we have seen conflict entrepreneurs mushrooming in the valley in the last 30 years. People who have made their careers out of it at the expense of the blood, people who have orchestrated protests in Kashmir because they wanted something for themselves. We saw Gilani trading 2016, protest for the people, for his own grandson's job. Now that is conflict economy. And that has an impact on people like you and people like me, an ordinary citizen sitting here who has a degree, who wants to study, who wants to take a straight path to his career, and he wants to move forward. But unfortunately, the favoritism, the separatism, the conflict economy doesn't let him survive. So what options is he left with? He's not left with many, many options. And that is what we are seeing in the society. In the last two panelists spoke about the silent majority. I am very humbly going to disagree with this silent majority narrative. In Kashmir, there is no silent majority. In Kashmir, there is a very small, silent minority. And among that minority is a micro minority who I think is here today and who actually has the guts to come out and speak about these things. The silent majority here doesn't speak. The silent majority sanctions violence and has excuses to give fuel to the violence. So silent majority in Kashmir doesn't exist. We need to create a majority which actually can stand up and say, call spade a spade and say what is wrong is wrong. And the problem with that is Kashmir is suffering from a typical syndrome called a single story syndrome from 1947, and that syndrome is of political victimhood. And unless and until that syndrome is not taken care of, we are not going to see any perception management or any change happening on the ground related to our future. That has to change. The story has to change. And the story will change when we all will speak up with our own stories. Nobody from Kashmir, I think, wants to go out and, wants to earn his livelihood outside. But when we have people coming from outside and they are being mercilessly murdered here, the silent majority sanctions that murders in the name of their rights and their lands, which is absolutely wrong. The silent majority has excuses for that, and that needs to change. So there is no silent majority in Kashmir. Let's not be mistaken about it. Now, when we come on to livelihood about it, we have to see the menace in the society. When we talk about drug abuse, look at the drug abuse numbers in Kashmir. It's staggering. 12% of the population is a drug addict. Where is this drug coming from? Why are we shy of saying that this drug is coming from Pakistan? We know thousands of crores of narco is peddled through LOC and other areas from Kashmir to other parts of India. But none of us talk about the economy, which is taking which is taking the right of a young man or a young woman to earn in an honest way. What these apologists of terror, terrorists without weapons, terrorists with pens, and terrorists with weapons have done is instilled a sanction and a mind where they justify each and every wrong done in the name of conflict. What they also do is they don't let the minority or the like-minded people or people with some sanity and some semblance of peace speak. The moment somebody speaks which is not suiting their narrative or which goes against their ideas, they are either silenced, killed, threatened, or driven away. We have seen that happening with Kashmiri Pandits. We have seen that happening with Kashmiri Muslims as well. There are people within the Muslim community who had to leave the valley because they were threatened to leave. And there was no silent majority among the Muslims who would stand with those Muslims as well and those Pandits as well and say that this is wrong, you cannot leave your land. Everybody has an excuse. The excuse is built on conflict and its economy, because everybody is a beneficiary in conflict economy. And unless and until the conflict economy beneficiary back is not broken, we are not going to get any change on the ground. When we talk about radicalization, we talk about programs, let me tell you something. We live in India. We are a multi-ethnic, multi-diversity democracy. Whether Kashmir is not the only Muslim majority state in India. You have Hyderabad, you have Kerala. But there people live in harmony. There people understand the cultural nuances. We cannot reject and say that we are giving fuel to the fire by doing something which is not, just or not right according to a section of people. We cannot give sanctity to their thoughts. And if they have the fuel, please fight it with the right fuel. If music is haram in Islam, please start talking about why Pakistani TV have musical events of Islam. The same country which is perpetrating terrorism in Kashmir, please ask them when are they going to become an Islamic Republic of Pakistan. That's the question we need to ask. And that is a question which everybody of us needs to ask. Thank you.